Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today was supposed to be all about fixing up the Autel tape deck again and trying to get its wow and flutter under control, but as I was working on my video last week on the Sherwood turntable, I realized I've got another turntable to look at that I have never even powered up, and this is it right here. But before we get to this, you're probably wondering why I haven't been out shooting too much during July. And well, part of that is because it's cost so much money to get the car back and forth from Calgary and Banff a couple of times already this year. But the other part of it was the last time I was in Banff, I ended up shooting something like 450 gigabytes of 4K content. And quite frankly, my main computer, which does all the video rendering and stuff, decided it doesn't really want to be a part of that anymore. See, the problem is the Action 3 files are really not that compatible with the video card I've been using all these years. And this is it here. This is my best Radeon 290X. It's got a custom BIOS on it that streamlines the performance for the type of memory that's used in it. And it's been, well, I've been trying to limp along with it for years now because of NVIDIA's ridiculous pricing on GPUs, but suddenly, without the ability to process all that 4K video from Banff, I decided, well, I can't do this anymore. This card is just too slow for it. In fact, this card won't even handle Hep-C content. So, basically, I was getting to the point where every 4K video I tried to render had to be done in CPU because, well, the files were just not compatible with the ancient drivers for this thing. So I thought, well, let's bite the bullet and go ahead and upgrade. Finally, after all these years. You're probably wondering what I upgraded to. Well, I've got the box right here. I don't know if you can see it too well. That's right, I bought a 3090, and this is a used one. The reason it's used is because NVIDIA is still crazy stupid with their prices. I am not buying a new 4080 for $1,700, but I can get one of these for $1,000. So that's what I did, and that's what this cost me. The reason I'm doing this instead of working on the Autel today is because the Autel requires me to heat up the soldering iron. And well, the forecast today is probably going to be pushing 40 degrees. And if you're wondering what that is in freedom fries units, that's maybe about 105 Fahrenheit. So, yeah, I tend to not like going outside in temperatures like that, so I'm not outside. I'm in a nice cool basement, which is probably still 26 to 27 degrees, but it is what it is. At least we can look at a turntable today. And as usual, I've got the Sony receiver there, and I've got the DCMs way down over there. You can see them right there, so I'm going to be using all that stuff again too. And if you missed it in the last video, the cause of the issue with the Sony receiver was dirty controls. In fact, it was the source direct switch that was dirty. Got in there, cleaned it up, touched up a few soldering joints, everything's fine now. So let's get started on this. What we have here is a Sanyo TP-1005. This came to me for free once upon a time. It was part of the little package I got for free from my parents, with the Sanyo receiver, the 2033, and the RCA cassette deck, which started out this whole wacky collect every cassette deck under the sun phase of my channel. So why have I never used this turntable before? Well, it's because of how it's built and what its limitations are. This is a very cheap turntable. It does have a few good features, but yeah, very cheap. For one thing, there's no strobe on this guy. So we have no idea how stable it is. We have no way of setting the speed. We get 45 and 33 as the turntable sees it, and that's it. However, it is not without some decent features. It says here PLL servo drive system. That means there's a phase-locked loop feedback system in there with a servo motor. So it's basically got the same thing going on as the Sherwood turntable does in terms of a frequency generator that gets or that reports back to a controller to tell the control chip how fast the turntable is going and make sure it's stable and all that. So what else have we got going on here? What is this? This looks like a foot that came off, and this looks like another foot that came off. Well, we'll get into this thing later and see how it's built before we power this up and try to use it. So let's see, what's the stylus looking like? Well, that's too light. I'll tell you that right now. Okay, we'll go up to 1 gram on the little counterweight. At least it has a counterweight. So let's have a look here. There does appear to be a needle there. I don't know what the heck kind of a cartridge this is. There's no markings on it I can see anywhere. If you see any, let me know. I'm already not expecting this to hang with the Sherwood. See if I can get this put back on without taking my hands off the phone gimbal here. Let's see, there's no anti-skating control at all, so that's another disadvantage to the Sherwood. So yeah, this is probably why I've never used this. It's just lacking in features. We do get a 45 RPM adapter there. We'll leave that off because we're going to flip it over and get into the underside. Let's see, what type of drive are we dealing with? Oh, there it is. Belt drive. Now, nothing against people who like belt drive turntables, but I don't deal with these. I am wondering what's going on with this right now. It's cycling. Anyway, I am a direct drive only kind of guy when it comes to turntables. And I might go that way too once I get into the direct drive cassette decks, but I don't have one yet, so it is what it is. Okay, I'm going to get this belt off so we can take the platter off. And I just want to have a look and see what we're dealing with here. Okay, here we go. All right, this platter is very clearly lighter than we dealt with on the Sherwood. That's another disadvantage. Let's take a look at the belt. I don't have a replacement for this, so we're just going to have to use it as is. It's not very grippy, I'll tell you that. Probably needs to be replaced, but like I said, no replacement, so we're not going to do it. Oh look, we've got adjustment holes here. One for 45, one for 33. Maybe we can do that. Probably requires pulling the platter off a half a dozen times to set up, but I will attempt to do that if it's off. But for now, I want to get this belt off and leave the platter off because we're going to get into the underside here. I want to see who made this turntable. Well, that's just lovely right there. Wonderful. Delightful. Let's see if I can set you up here so I can get inside this unit. All right, I've got a screwdriver here somewhere. All right, cover is off. What have we got down here? Well, we've got cheapness is what we've got down here. Okay, here's the speed adjustment control here. Selector switch for 33 and 45, I do believe. Tone arm over there. And here's our quote-unquote servo motor. This is a far cry from what I found inside the Sherwood. I'll tell you that right now. But what we've got here is a 4-527T, it looks like, 10800 9627B. Yeah, I'm not real impressed right now. This is way below my standards for what I consider a half-decent turntable. There's our little circuit board for joining up with the external cable. I'm not really seeing any reason why we shouldn't go ahead and try this, but I think while I'm down here I'm going to start lubing stuff, because Lord only knows when the last time this was done. Alright, let's lube us up a turntable. I'm not going to go too fancy with this. I'll just dab a little luber plate down in there and down in there. Then I'm going to let the mechanism itself spread the lube around once we get it running. Assuming it even runs. I don't even know if it runs. Let's see, how do I get the bearing out to lube that? Probably thusly. Let's see if I can even get it out. Might have to take off this whole plate to do this. Well, that's going to be fun to retime later, won't it? Anyhow, I've got access to the bearing now. So I'll bring you over here. And we're just going to use sewing machine oil. Suppose I really could have done this from the top side, couldn't I? Without taking this whole thing apart. But where's the fun in that? See, this seems to be moving well enough that I think we'll leave it alone. Oh, it does come out. Okay. Okay, so I got her back together, and a word of advice, don't take that central bearing out unless you really have to, because that big metal plate that it's bolted to, that actually holds the whole thing in. And if you take the central bearing out, you're gonna have to fight with it. Anyhow, I got this all back together and it's working fine. I'll just show you here. It's cycling like it should. So that should work. But I realized we've got some other stuff to do up here before we fire this up for the first time. We gotta clean that motor pulley. I don't know how good it'll do considering this belt is not in the best of shape anymore. Really not getting much residue off that. Yeah, we might be okay. I don't want to get the acetone out and tempt fate with that yet, but this should work. I've still got most of the screws out from underneath, but I'll put those back in later. So, see if we can get this belt back on. Don't remember exactly which side was facing out, but if I did, I would consider possibly reversing the belt. Let me zoom you back out so you can see what I'm doing. I've got the belt on the platter, and I'm sort of retaining it with my thumb. And I'm just going to set the platter down. I'm going to use my dental pick to put the belt back in place, and there we go. Good Lord, this is a cheap turntable. I'm really not expecting much from this thing. In fact, I'm probably going to recycle it after this. It's that bad. I know there are a few people that consider this a halfway decent turntable as a starter turntable, but this thing is way below my standards. And again, no offense to you belt drive aficionados, but give me direct drive any day over this. All right, we're ready to fire it up, so let me plug it in. And we'll see if the motor does anything. I should have looked at this before I put this back together, but whatever. Does turn and operate. I don't hear the motor working, so that's a plus. Now, let's check the wow and flutter on this thing. There might be issues with it. So let's see what we've got. 32 point something. It's already running off speed. Let's see what we get here. I'm doing my magic to hopefully produce a good result. All right, there we go. Wow and flutter is double the Sherwood. And it's running at negative 3.69% speed. So I am going to have to get in there and tweak that. Let's go up to 45 and see if that speed's accurate. I'm going to say no. Getting just about 43. That's all. Now that I think about it, I might not actually have to remove the platter to adjust the speed. But yeah, that's even more off. 0.26% wow and flutter RMS, 43 RPM. Yeah, I'm gonna have to adjust on this before we play any records with it. So we'll pull that back off. Shut her down. Now what kind of an alignment tool do I need for this? Just a screwdriver, it looks like. So I will get my mini screwdrivers and we'll do that. I'm going to start with a minor speed bump. And both 33 and 45. All right, let's try that. I'm actually not sure this thing is able to raise the tone arm above the surface of the record, which is another problem. Well, that didn't do much, did it? At least for that speed. Nah, got more work to do. So where is my tool again? Getting real close there, but it's still either too fast or too slow. Doing very tiny adjustments now. Not quite there yet. All right, I think I got her in the ballpark here. Just measuring to find out. I don't mind if it's a little off speed, considering this is not direct drive and we're using a servo motor with inbuilt or built-in control circuitry. Here's what we got now. And it might be possible to improve on the wow and flutter if I take the motor apart and do a service, but I'm not doing that for this turntable. So what's next? What's next is I'm going to do, or try to align the 45 section of this off camera. I'll put the mat back on, I'll hook the turntable up to the receiver, and we'll see how it sounds. Not expecting great things from it. Alright guys, I think we're ready to go with this. I did manage to get the 45 RPM setting to dial in just about perfectly. I think it was negative 0.02% off, so that's pretty awesome. Unfortunately, I did try to tweak the 33 setting a little bit better, but nope, it's just not having it. That control in there is just too dirty, and I don't feel like cleaning it or replacing it or doing anything with it right now. So we're gonna try and get some sound out of this thing. I have serious doubts about the stylus on this thing, but here's what we're gonna go with. I am the world's biggest Falco fan, so I hope this doesn't destroy this record, because it was not easy to come by, honestly. And there's only one track on here that will pass the content ID, so. And unfortunately, it happens to be the questionable version. The version I'm sure my parents would like me to not play on this channel, but we're gonna do it anyway. I didn't write the song, guys. It's just the way it is. All right, here we go. See if this will even stay above the record surface. No, it's already playing when the thing's in the up position, so that's worthless. Let me set this down on the actual correct track here. Oh, that's way slow. How fast is this thing even running right now? I think that motor needs a serious service. I had this adjusted. What's going on with it? No, it's still running at speed. Is this thing 45? Yes, it is. I'm at the wrong speed, guys. Never mind me. And why the heck did Sanyo put this thing all the way over here? It needs to be over here. Or did somebody change that? I'm gonna have to change that back. That's more like it. Like I said, I didn't record the song. It's Falco, guys. Blame him. Actually, I think the stylus might be in better shape than the Sherwoods right now. I have not ordered a new stylus for the Sherwood yet. I'm kind of trying to figure out which one exactly I want. There's a few I could use, but yeah. This sounds like it might be in better shape than the Sherwood stylus. I take that back. The stylus in this does not sound as good as the Sherwoods. And there's no way I'm going to hit the reject button on this with this thing scraping along the record like that. Alright, just a quick update for you before we get to the good stuff. I ended up doing a little bit more to this than I thought I would in terms of getting that return arm adjusted or whatever. And I think the problem is this spring here is a little had gotten itself a little weak. Sorry guys, like I said, it's hot today. And this is the cueing arm right here. It pulls down on that spring, which in turn forces the thing up to pull the stylus off the record. Words are hard today. Anyhow, I think I might have gotten it. I'm not sure. Probably not. Let me just turn this over real quick. Gotta just love how light this thing is. There's like no weight to it at all. So let's see what we got. We'll just run it like this. Yeah, see here? When you push up on the cueing arm further, you can see the tone arm coming up and down. That's the problem. Now, since that is independent of the actual spinny disky thing, the auto return, maybe that'll work better. I'm not sure there's much I can do for the cueing arm here, so let me put the platter back on and we'll see. All right, let's find out. There is a good bit of distance there between the platter and the needle. So that might work. Let's put the mat back on. Just grab it here. It's doing better. Is it there yet? I don't think so. See, yeah, you have to force the spring in there to really press down. I did adjust it as well, but I think this is probably the best we're going to get it. Now I need a cheap record so I can make sure the auto return works. I'm not doing anything else until I know that for sure. Alright, we're going to use this record for this test, and I've got the Sony receiver turned off right now because this might get a content ID match. Fairly sure it will, so see what happens here. It is playing. Actually, maybe we'll risk the Sony receiver just for a second here. Yes, it is playing. We need to see if it auto returns, and boy do I hate that little thing being on the wrong side. This record's already scratched, so I don't care if it gets scratched anymore. However, I am ready and waiting. With my fingers back here, so I can do the auto return myself if I need to. It's still playing right now. You can't hear it, but it is. Man, this turntable's a piece of junk. I am not keeping this thing. After this video, it's going right to the recyclers. It's just too far below my standards. It's all plastic crap and the cartridge is no good. The motor probably needs service. I was able to easily stop it with my fingers, so yeah, it definitely needs service. Come on, do the auto return. Still playing, I think. It's actually skipping. Okay, it does come up off the record. This is good. See if we can get it to go again. Oh boy, does that ever work. Yeah, that jacks the thing way up there. So yeah, as long as you're careful with the cueing lever on this thing, it works fine. Now I'm going to have to increase the tracking force because it skipped so bad there at the end. And yes, even the reject button works. Okay, I think we've got it now. I've got 2 grams up there on the counterweight. So hopefully that'll do for the capture. I've still got to turn this over and put all the screws back in it, but I'll do that off camera. Okay, now it's time to actually listen to this thing.
Fühlen Abend, 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 vielen Dank von deiner Hand wächst, dann waren wir in den Himmel, als ich es fand, war es verändert, ich sag wie, es war hoch wie Nielsen. Hey honey, can't you see it's destiny, it's all for rockin' in the touch, and I can bring your hips to the top, to the BBC. Show me the way, you move your body, night into days. Why should I wait for you to love me? Don't be too late. The way to make it happen. Body next to body, turn the pain to pleasure. I wanna know if you are the one for me. Yeah. Body next to body, searching for the treasure, the magic and the mystery. Yeah, 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 yeah. But sooner or later you must leave the theater and you have to go home, and maybe you're alone. Do the bang bang boogie, so turn the boogie, you say how can you see that it's destiny? If it's all for rock and if you don't turn, I can bring your heads to the top, to the beat I say I am the one you need forever, second to none. Say, life on the run. We stay together, whatever comes. Together we take our chances. Body next to body, turn the pain to pleasure. I wanna know if you are the one for me. Yeah. Body next to body, searching for the treasure, the magic and the mystery. Yeah, 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 yeah. Body next to body, turn the pain to pleasure. I wanna know if you are the one for me. Yeah. Body next to body, searching for the treasure, the magic and the mystery. Yeah, 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 yeah. I do the freaks, the freaks, the freaks, do the bang, 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 rhythm on the rhythm on the rhythm on the hit the freaks, the freaks, the freaks, the hand on the boogies on the rhythm on the boogie, bang, 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 rhythm on the boogie, on the boogie, on the